All right. Welcome to Matt and Kyle's breakdown of GT by GT. Matt, are you excited about GT by GT?
I'm excited that GT runs GT as much as they do.
Yeah.
And, they give a lot of different variations to it. So excited to kind of get into it today and break it down.
In case you're wondering, we're talking about Georgia Tech. So we just released an article on Georgia Tech running GT today. So we're going to talk about it a little bit here on film. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everyone. And me and Matt are going to talk through some of these brilliant GTs. All right. So I'm a little ahead. Let me get to the back of the playlist. So, Matt, our first
Come
one
on.
comes Georgia Tech against Miami. We know that they are going to start in a trips on kind of unbalanced, covered up look, right? Number 3's covered up here. They're going to run that zoom motion across, and they're going to run a beautiful GT. And let's get to the back shot here. So even front, running it to the 3 tech here. Well, there's 2 3 techs. So running it to the right. Real nice job there on the log. He's going to be off to the races. So let me get my mouse out of the way here. So Matt, teaching point on the guard here.
Yeah, so let's start over on the front side. So you see the double team they get there. Watch the offensive tackle trying to push off so he can clear and look for a backside linebacker. You see 21 rolling across with the motion. So if we can go back.
Yep.
So 21 rolls with the motion. He becomes the backside linebacker. So our right tackle should be double teaming. Gets a great push there and helping the guard knock down that 3 technique, that 4-eye.
Annihilates them.
Oh yeah. But it all comes from the help of that offensive tackle. You're trying to teaching them to wrench them to the side, but that tackle comes down and gives a great push. It sets him up to work to that backside linebacker, number 21. That's where the play happens. That's where that wall happens that you want to build as an offensive line.
Yeah,
beyond there, the pullers are just trying to fit. So that defensive end squeezes. That guard's going to pull, stay as square, or try to stay square on his body, on his chest as he can. But obviously, that defensive end squeezes so hard that guard really didn't have the agility to get back into it, right?
But he does enough, right? He does enough.
He does.
Where the DN can't make the play, and then the backer, who, I mean, defensively, I would say we always talk about you need to fit a little tighter off his butt, but he fits decently tight, and they do a good job of kind of digging his butt out of there.
He does. And I'd say that second puller, excellent job finding number 1, keeping his eyes to him from where he is. Number 1 meets him down at the line of scrimmage, and you always like your offensive tackle. Let's go back to that pull by the offensive tackle.
Yep.
Notice how square he's staying. He's going to skip pull. So he's getting that left foot kicked back behind him, stay square to the line of scrimmage, and that allows him to get his eyes on number 1 and meet him wherever he's going. Notice how his helmet is inside number 1's helmet. That's exactly what you want, and you want your running back to be able to fit off of.
Yeah, obviously we know O-line head coach, they better be having that helmet placement right. And then the running back does a great job here, right? It's
Excellent.
Not a huge gap. It's not huge, but he does a great job slipping through and then now bending away from the field safety. He doesn't run for a touchdown here, but he runs for a long way. So now we're going to get to this. Right, that was against even. 2 plays later. They're going to do this.
Can we go back to that one, Coach?
Yeah.
Can we go back to that? Last element here, defensive end on the backside. Watch the quarterback hold him between the H coming across, or your second running back coming across the field on the flat route, and the quarterback staring him down. It freezes that backside end. That's one thing a lot of coaches are worried about trying to run this play, is that backside pressure. I can tell you, if you treat it as a zone read, from my experience, you're going to be able to freeze and look at the center, be able to get back to the 3 technique. Yeah. So you want to freeze that guy, and that's what sets up your play.
And Matt, we're going to talk later about how they protect that guy from just crashing all the time, right? Because the thought process is, fine, we'll just crash and take care of it and make your guy pull it every time. So we'll talk about that. So kind of same style thing, similar formation. Now they're going to orbit the other way and run GT again. This time it's against a tight front, right? So the cool thing about this is 2 plays later, they get an even front. Now they get odd front, which is a tight front fit. And I'm going to talk to Miami real quick. First of all, they're in a weird man set where this is what I think, Matt. It's hard to tell. This guy is responsible for this back, it looks like. But then this guy right here is also going to drop with that back. So Miami ends up a man short, which on GT, is a death wish. So before any offensive coaching here, I want you to watch kind of 0 and 9 both kind of flow with that guy right out there in the shoot route, which means Miami's really only left with 5 guys, and then there's their 6 fitter. And you know as well as I know, if you're fitting from depth as a 6 fitter, you may not have a good time. So let's talk through the blocking scheme of it this time.
Yeah, so you assume that's got to be a miscommunication, or I mean, I don't know, but yeah, with the nose, coaches handle this different. I'd typically be gap just like they are here. Notice how the center, he's gonna probably punch with his backside hand to prevent any penetration from the nose, and then work to next to show. With that backside 4-eye. He's looping around the offensive tackle. He's gone out of the picture. It should probably send him to next level, in which that center does, where he doesn't have even a lot of work.
The problem is next level, right, should be this backer right here, and he disappears, right, because he's running with that shoot route. So he literally should, right, in a perfect world, he works to safety. It's just really hard to ask that guy to realize, hey, get all the way up to safety. But
yeah. And it kind of looks like we got I don't know if it's a squeeze or a stunt by the play side defensive end. The 4-eye, but it allows that offensive tackle just to wash him down. So really, you look where that defensive end starts, he's going to end up where the center was originally.
Yeah.
He's going to get washed down all the way there, and that's clearing everything. Now you're man on with your guard and tackle that are pulling. Not exactly, once again, the cleanest from the pulling guard, but that's actually pretty damn good.
Does a good job of logging them.
Fit up well.
And then
once again, the running back. Yeah.
Good job by 55. The running back slides through a nice hole, and then just make the guy miss.
I mean, I can't believe they sent that linebacker safety that on the play side, that safety, he's bailing out to follow number 8 and man.
Yeah, and it's very clear here that they've called something where this guy is a quote dropper, because we're going to see this guy makes his stunt this way. I mean, this is where the D line's going. So, this is now a 4-man rush. You should, in theory, have 2 30 backers, right? And you have one here, but your other 30 backers nowhere to be found. I think this guy blows it here. Again, we're just speculating. I don't know the call. If that's a real call, though, it's a really bad one. So we'll move on from that. All right. So next one, again, Georgia Tech does such a great job of motions and shifts. And here's a great example of them just using jet motion along with GT, right, to draw guys a different direction and just give them a different look. So we'll go to the backside here as always.
After a shift, right? They start in a condensed set and they shift out to 2x2.
And they do this all the time. They are good with motions and shifts. I'll tell you that. That's probably the best thing they do.
And the fun thing with GT as an offensive line coach, I'll admit I never really ran it a lot. Until really my last year where I was coaching. And once I got into the aspects that you can run it out of any formation because of its flexibility, you're not relying on having a tight end or an H-back, but you can put those in, as you'll see later, you can put them into the blocking scheme.
Yeah.
So you can run it out of about any formation. You can shift and motion and kind of build those bells and whistles into this play,
which they do a good job of. So again, tight front here, a little more loose one, so there's not 2 9s here, but they're going to enter pretty late. So this is what we talked about, right, Matt? One of the ways to protect it, because they're in tight front, they don't have the other D end. Quarterback's just going to make a pull read here. All right, now the overhang works to him. He's just going to throw the shoot route. So this is another one of those ways, and I'll give the sideline angle, where you can protect GT by doing a few of these wrinkles, right? And all it is here is they just motioned that guy and ran a shoot route.
But, and you're mainly protecting here against that backside pressure, right? Teams that are going to want to try to bring someone hot off the edge. If you can do this and even show that with the motion that you have that thread out there, look at them react to it. That 34, he's lost in space.
He's a Q player, right? He the way they worked it. Because, the 2 interior linebackers get 2 pullers, right? So they got to fit over top. That makes 34 the Q player, which means now the guy that's got to come out of the ceiling is the single high safety. Well, that's a long way to run that. I guess you could switch it where the single high, I don't know what the coverage is. I assume it's a cover 1 or cover 3 where you could go here and go there, but there's a lot of work with that when coaches do a really good job of doing this. So this is a great example of just protecting GT by running a simple read and a shoot route off that. You can see it's a big gain for them. Any other pointers here, Matt, before we go to the next one?
Yeah, go to this view. And take a look at the 4-eye kind of 4 technique to the play side. So that'd be our right looking at the defense. Yep. He's going to come down hard and try to cross face to the offensive tackle. And watch the offensive tackle just take him, right? Someone tries to cross your face there. If he's a 4 or 4-eye, tries to cross inside, just go ahead and take him, try to wash him down. Let his momentum be the death of him. And once again, he washes them all the way to where the center would be. Look at the guards stay flat all the way to the guy that comes up off the edge. Just beautiful fits there. Only thing I see that I don't like is that there's no one play side guard or center able to get off to. I guess they're kind of manned up, but the backside backer kind of is a free roamer there.
Yep, no doubt. So, which is why you had the protection in there. All right. So here we go. One more GT. Well, there's a few. I believe this one's also a read here. Now they're going to read it to the tight end here. So the tight end's actually going to arc along with this motion guy. They're both going to block, and they're going to kind of just read GT to the end there. And the safety does a great job filling for Florida State, but again, a missed tackle. You get one-on-one situations, and that's what you get.
Yeah, we used to tag this like we'd tag our bluff, Yep. So we're still reading the guy back. So the second down lineman backside would be 13 coming off the edge. Yeah, and the tight end would block next. So I'd consider this bluff like you'd run zone bluff, but now you're actually running a gap scheme that to me is a little bit stronger and reading it out. Just a beautiful read by the quarterback. Great job by the tight end.
And this is a great example. If you're one of our listeners and you're at the high school level, right? Like Haynes King, I'm just giving you honest, doesn't throw very well, but he's a good runner, right? And if your quarterback's a good player, it's a great one-on-one for him, right? Him against the safety running downhill 10 yards, right? So if you're a high school guy and I get it, it's read and they got a guy for a guy, but look, if you can get your quarterback singled up against the safety and you think your quarterback's a dude, it's probably a pretty good play for you, right?
And a great play to run away from the tight end, where a lot of teams are going to try to overload to the tight end, or, you can motion out there, create some space from the corner.
You're talking about the GT away from the tight end,
right?
Yeah,
the GT away from the tight end. And then if you're reading a down lineman that may not be used to getting read, especially if you see an underfront like this, that, that guy may be squeezing every single time, and you're going to create some space for your quarterback.
Love it. All right, one more GT run out. Again, we just see another shift in this game. This is going to be a safety blitz here, and I want you to see how they handle this. They handle it very, very well. So we're going to go to the back shot here. Number one right here is blitzing, right? He's the safety. So just see how good of a job. So 11, their D end is going to be that guy who's trying to slant inside, right? He's a B-gap player here. So just watch how they handle it. And it's not perfect, but it's not bad either, picking up the safety blitz on the fly like that. So talk me through this as an O-line coach.
So, as an offensive line coach, me personally, I don't want my tackle touching 11. He's got outside alignment. As long as he's not whipping your ass inside, we want to release. We want to get our hands down to number 5 to number 9 and try to get there. Obviously, they kind of get lucky them running themselves. Well, not lucky, but part of the scheme allows them to run themselves out of the play.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you'd like to try to get the guard to 11.
Yeah.
So you're kind of outnumbered there with 10, 11, and 1 coming off the edge, 1 coming down as the blitzer into it.
Yeah.
But 11 just doesn't make the play, so I guess it kind of works out.
Well, correct. And I think it's just another example of just GT, again, there's just bodies in the way, right? Because you've created so many extra gaps that they're able to pop this one. And like you said, right, it's not perfect, but it worked.
It did.
So another great example of that. I think we got a couple. Hold on. I want to get to okay. So here we go. 3 high GT here. So Matt, this time it's going to be a little different. We're going to see the guard work all the way to this guy here, and then the tackle is going to wrap for the Mike here. And obviously, they know that, I believe this is Vanderbilt in the bowl game. They know that they're going to get some 3 high, but I thought this was executed so beautifully, right? Boom.
Yeah, it's 3 high, and you're in a long yardage situation, right? So we're past the sticks. So we're looking at, 15 yards? So it looks like it's a 1st and 15. So
yeah,
I guess they're not expecting.
It's 2nd 15.
2nd 15. So, that's you got 4-man box. That's a great way to run thing to run a gap scheme into. Jeez.
And their slot, who's the tight end, does a great job here. I think at first he's actually looking to work to that overhang, and he kind of realizes, hey, the overhang commits, and he works to safety. He doesn't get the block, but he gets in the safety's way enough, right?
Yeah.
And then bam, there it goes.
Oh, let's see that guard pull again.
Oh, that overhang just gets smoked here, doesn't he?
I mean,
right? Poor guy.
That's what you're looking for. That's what you dream of. Oh,
let's get to the back shot. Let's see this from the back shot. But, right, tight front is so popular, and the 3 highs getting popular. But, boy, that's GT looks like a great way to handle it, especially if you get this matchup, right? 52 on that guy. See ya.
Well, you got one linebacker to pull for. You're kicking an overhang.
Yep.
A nickel guy. The offensive tackle does a great job here. Watch the offensive tackle. Go back to his. Let's look at the his
play side
footwork
tackle
a little bit,
or the backside.
Yeah, the play side tackle. He's kind of angled out, but all their offensive linemen are. But look at him wrench, get
Yep.
Kind of low with the left hand, but he uses that right hand as his power hand, and he drives his knee through it to try to turn that guy. That defensive end and get him back up inside. Just an excellent job. Show his strength there from 54.
And man,
78. Look at him
I'm
fit on the linebacker.
impressed by 78 here.
Beautiful.
This linebacker fits perfectly off the hip. And 78 does a good job of Matt, I've never been a tackle. It's got to be really hard to find this guy right here, right?
Yeah, and that's why you teach them. You run those drills where you try to stay square and match up with the guy. To make sure that they're getting their eye. It's all about eyes. Just like you're coaching DBs, about their eyes. It's the same thing for a pulling lineman. You want to make sure they get square to the line of scrimmage. They can find their linebacker when they're skip pulling like that, and that they can meet up with them.
By the way, right here, right? No block, no rock. Great job by the wide receiver. Look at that.
Look at that.
That's a dream come true.
Beautiful.
So big run here. This is the last GT we're showing just because, I'm sorry. This was just a quick one. Another way to throw 10 personnel. They just throw a bubble, right?
Well,
realize matchup.
Yeah, you can run. And you can, as long as you have 2 receivers out there, you can run any sort of screen, any run.
Double slant, screen, now screening that. So
I was sitting there
here was the last GT I wanted to show. This is just a beautiful GT. It's gorgeous. Standard 4-2-5 look, right? Safeties kind of rolled down the backside. They're probably some version of quarters, and just watch this. I mean, this
Beautiful.
was a great one, I thought, by the play side tackle here, and maybe this is one you want to talk about.
Oh yeah,
he ends up
so
kicking
let's go back. Let's go back to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has we got a 2-eye there. Obviously, it's going to be that guard's responsibility to down block on him. But that tackle, you're going to teach him to go through the hip of that offensive or that defensive tackle all the way to the linebacker. And if that linebacker tries to roll over the top, and this is a big thing with teams that run A-gap power and stuff, that backside linebacker wants to roll over the top, turn your hips and take him, spin it out of it and take him and push him out.
Yep. He does a beautiful job here, and you'll see it again later too.
So that's him working to the hip, making sure 98 doesn't get there, and then he works that linebacker straight across. Use that linebacker's momentum against him.
Yeah, great job there.
He's trying to scrape across, punch, find him. He wants to work that way, let him work that way. Run him past.
Yep. So it's kind of the perfect play, right? Like North Carolina, the DN does a great job here. He closes the gap. Perfect dent.
Oh, yeah. Good
right?
strike.
I mean, that's everything you want a DN to do right there. And he compresses the puller. Right? Like that dude, as much as they gave up a touchdown here, that DN gets a plus for this play. But the next couple guys don't do as well. You have the play side backer that fits way too wide off his hip. The nickel basically runs in him. So they almost get a 2-for-1 right here with the tackle.
Yeah, they end up being double gap there with that linebacker running way over the top like that. That linebacker's got to be taught to stay tight with it. Well, if he sees that down block, sees that defensive end get washed in.
Yeah, if you're a defensive guy, the way we taught it in quarters is it should be almost 2 spills. And again, everyone teaches different, but this guy should spill, and then this guy should spill the next guy, and then it should bounce to that guy, right? And instead, we see a spill, and then we see 17 boxes it. Well, 21's now outgapped. So he either needed to fold quicker, or 17 should have spilled him. But again, smaller linebacker, bigger lineman, they do weird things sometimes. And now
we saw some defenses doing some interesting things against this. I think later in the season, you see, we saw some teams in some of these clips trying to fold the defensive ends in from the snap.
Yep.
And from the backside and trying to run through underneath the center, kind of like how a linebacker would, like a backside linebacker, but they're doing it out of a tight front.
Yeah, so that's a common odd thing is to fold D linemen off the double pull. But it's just one of those things they do. But Georgia Tech, look at this. This is, you had to show this GT, right? This was the GT, right?
Yeah.
That you had to show. So, all right. So talking about ways to protect it, right? This has become a huge play in 2024. We've talked about it multiple times, Matt. But right, if I can do the entire thing the way Dan Casey does, this would be GH or GY counter bluff reverse would be the name of it. You're going to see they're going to shift into it. Right, I guess it's H here.
And notice how everybody does this out of condensed set. Yep. Everybody tightens everything down so they can try to get to the edge.
Right, so a shift, a motion, and now, right, this guy is going to make it look like GT, and then he's going to bluff it right back out.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, there it is. And the beauty of this is the play side guard and tackle are 2 for 1 on a safety. They don't even have to touch them.
They don't even get to them.
Right, like, if you're an offensive guy, you can't draw it up better than the play side guard and tackle just escort the running back into the end zone. All right.
Go back and show it one more time, Coach. There you go.
Yep. And, not to be outdone here, the play side wide receiver, again, gets a great crack here.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the back shot real quick and just take a look at it. Again, a lot of it is done on this fake, right? They're worried about GT, so watch these linebackers fit on GT. They're gone. All 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right?
So take a look at the center and the tackle. They pull the guard away, right? Like it's going to be G, Y, or GH, right?
Yeah.
And they pull that away, but watch the guard or the center and the tackle get a pump in on the D lineman, let them go inside, and then they release. And those D linemen are not aware of what's happening there.
Well, the center does such a great, right? He is aware. The 2-eye. Hold him. Okay, at this point, there's no way the 2-eye can make the play on a speed guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's the speed guy's fault. But just such a good job of being sly here by the center.
And watch the receiver come down, receiver tight end guy coming down on number 8 to seal him on the edge, and that lets that offensive tackle and center get around there.
Just 2 great seals, right? They're sealing it like it's toss because it's kind of toss. With basically counteraction, and then he's off to the races. Does get in here for a touchdown. Probably made it closer than he should have.
Could have made a better use of his blockers, but whatever.
Yeah. Here was something new that got talked about in the first game of the year. Dan Casey, again, I'm just going to use this terminology. You know how it is. Like you see it on Twitter, so you just use the terminology. This is escort motion, where they motion a tight end into counter.
Yeah.
All right. And we're going to see this. Florida State, again, probably should have done what you talked about earlier, Matt. They needed to fold one guy or adjust both of these backers over further with the motion. They don't do it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
So because they don't bump both guys, you're going to see the tight end gets to climb all the way to 3rd level. 22 is a safety.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as I know, if a tight end gets to climb to 3rd level on a block, we're screwed.
And, Coach, a team that did this really well this year was Penn State. Penn State was putting, I think, number 71 offensive tackle. They weren't even like hiding what they were doing. They didn't care. They were bringing this escort motion, running split zone, running counter, getting into their film a little bit here lately. Excited to kind of show what they were doing, but here in the future. But it's a beautiful, because you don't know if he's coming to run a flat route on the other side like they normally do with GT coming back this way, whether it's going to be split zone, which they also do, or this version of counter bringing him through. Yeah.
So this would be quote GY counter, right? But it's going to work out the same way we talked about it. It's against an odd front. They get everybody pinned. inside. It's not beautiful. Florida State's got 2 guys rolling in one gap, which this was kind of the story of the year for them. Right. 2 guys are working a play side B gap. Just awful.
Wild.
But there it is. Boom. Outside linebacker gets kicked. Tight end gets up to 3rd level. And now the running back's going to be off to the races, right? Obviously not a touchdown, but still it's a huge gain, right? Because of a nice motion and because of the set in the motion, however you want to, attribute it to, Florida State doesn't get enough guys in the box correctly, right? And that's, again, a testament to Georgia Tech's ability to shift in motion and run GT or GY different ways. And this was a beautiful one.
And going through this Georgia Tech film, watching it through, there were times when they played teams like Miami and Miami, they shift and they start motioning, and Miami's pointing around like they don't know where to be. Like you just see defenses just lost with the shifts and the motions, and just a beautiful way to run your offense.
Yeah, right. And that goes back to, a lot of people when you hear shifts and motions think of Texas, something they do a lot. I know they just lost in the college football playoff, but it's kind of one of those things. So let's get through a couple more, Matt. This was another GY that we're talking about here. I want to get to a particular play, so hold on one second for me. Bear with me if you're listening. Yeah. So we got some GY. This may have been another one where the tackle did a really good job of turning him. Okay, here's another one that you want to talk. Here's GY, but the tackle does exactly what you're talking about right here. The play side tackle is going to, again, that guy's going to overlap, and he's going to do a good job of turning him back out. Bam.
Yeah.
And again,
uses momentum against him. Yeah.
Yeah, and just getting the running back doesn't get touched until the 3rd level. Again, the DN comes screaming off wide here. So easiest kick. The guard even touch him? Yeah, he tags him.
No. Doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to, but does his job, and then boom, up to 3rd level, right? Is this a 50-yard run? No, but it's a 11-yard run or 10-yard run. Boom, right there. Bam. But just another great example of what Matt talked about, of that play side tackle doing a good job of using momentum to kick him back out.
Yeah.
Couple more. I'm looking for some of the protection ones here. Okay, here it is.
This is another one of the arcing the tight end, Boston the tight end, whatever you want to call it.
So in order, and I know they have some wide guys, and this is a weird set by Syracuse here, but I think this is a great example of widening the end with action, right? They're going to show toss action, right, with 6, and the quarterback's going to open up and do the toss. Yeah. And so I don't know whether he's actually reading this guy or they're just doing it to widen him. It could be either or. I don't know the call. But see how he kind of takes that step out wide and makes a better angle for the guard and the tackle. And they don't even do a great job, but it's a great job of widening that DN.
Yeah, I don't think they're reading it. I think they're just doing it
I agree.
As an action to try to freeze the front side.
But it works.
Yeah, not a great job by the guard there. But it was enough.
Just going to show you with flow, right? Again, this was them in a particular down and distance where they knew they were going to get this. Hey, let's widen the D end. All right. The backside backer blitzes and blitzes outside. So again, they're just too many guys backside here for them.
Watch what this does to number 12. Watch what this does to that defensive end.
Coach, he's in a blender.
I mean, it looks like he's about to scream downhill, and he freezes right here. Look at him freeze. Doesn't know where to go.
And then 0 on the back end, the safety overruns it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're stunting this guy, they're stunting that guy, they're bringing this guy, right? This is a max pressure. And then 0 overruns it. Haynes King walks into the end zone. Again, there's nothing groundbreaking about that, but that's just a good job of hiding it, right? Of dressing it up, doing certain things to make the end widen. Here's just another example of it real quick. You're just
because they do run the toss. They do run the toss out of this, right? They do toss it,
yeah.
So it's not like this is a complete fake, like
correct,
where nothing's happening, that there's no value to it. There's value to it because they do run that toss, and now being able to bring that counter up inside of it is going to make the defense run over the top.
I think I got one where he okay, here's one where he tosses it here, right? I think they're running counter the other way. So they have ones where they toss it too, toss it away, but here's just an example of them tossing it. Again, the reason why we have it in here, because it's just a way to protect GT, right? Here they're running GT. There's that fold that Matt's talking about.
There's the fold from number 29 there. Yep, that's
so
exactly
he's folding,
what we were seeing.
And boom, they just throw it. So fine, it's toss, and we're one-on-one out here, right? Get a good block by the tight end, wide receivers on his guy, right? Make a guy run out there. Nice 15-yard gain. So those are some great examples there. And we just really wanted to get together and talk about GT a little bit and in some certain ways that Georgia Tech does it. Are there more ways? Absolutely. Can you protect it other ways? Yeah, you could run GT and release that tight end vertical and throw a pop to him, right? That's the big Oklahoma USC thing, Lincoln Riley thing, right? But it's very clear that Georgia Tech did a fantastic job with GT this year. And right, who's their head coach, Matt? Brent Key. So not shocking that it's an O-line guy.
Not only is he an O-line guy, his offensive coordinator is an O-line guy. I think they said they had 6 O-line guys. Pretty much our whole offensive staff is former offensive linemen.
Except for one guy. That
makes it fun to watch.
There's there one guy on there? His name's Chris Winkie. Whatever. I think he won a Heisman back in the day. So
he's a nobody.
But yeah, so I think fantastic job by Georgia Tech running GT and GT variations, protecting it, doing those things. And to be honest with you, I think they had to do it right. Haynes King is a limited thrower. We've looked at them throw. He can throw off the boot. He can do some things. And I don't think anyone's going to be offended by me saying this. If they are, I don't care. But what he can do is run. So his ability to read GT, throw the shoot, do different things made them a pretty dangerous GT team. And I think that they won a few games on it. They beat Florida State on GT. We know that, right? I know Florida State was no good, but at the beginning of the year, they were top 10, right? So that was a big game for them. They beat Miami, right? We showed you 2 clips of GT against Miami that led to at least 1 touchdown. So I think it was a big piece of their game. I know they ran outside zone and a bunch of other stuff, but I thought they did a really good job this year, Matt, on GT, and it was super impressive.
Absolutely. And all their run stuff is great. And I think we're going to come out with some more of their run stuff and push that. But just some fun stuff that they do. And like I said, the window dressing that you can do with GT to set it up and get defenses where you want them really gives you that flexibility as an offensive coordinator to run a gap scheme and have that flexibility of having those receivers wherever you want them. You want to go to trips, you want to go, doesn't matter, 2-back set. You saw Georgia Tech going unbalanced with the receivers, putting 2 on to one side and going split backfield, putting the defense in a tough spot. So some really fun things you can do there. There's one variation we didn't show with the tight end on the backside, washing linebackers across, like you saw the offensive tackle being able to do that. So they found a lot of ways to impact the run game there using just GT.
Yeah, right. Matt, I'm excited to see what they do in 2025. It's a team that I just want to keep an eye on for some of the stuff they do. And so it'll be really cool to see what kind of variations they come out with next. They did a great job this year. That escort motion, you can say what you want. I'm not saying they invented it, but boy, they were the first team I saw use it a whole bunch. And then all of a sudden, I saw a lot of people using it the next 2 or 3 weeks. So good deal.
And they're not just running duo up front and overpowering stuff. This is stuff high school coaches can implement and do.
Yeah. It's a great play. So awesome. Matt, thanks for joining me. For me and Matt, the board drill. We'll see you guys on our next breakdown.